Welcome to Stevie G's Energy Corner. This morning we got Mr. Tim Unruh, Executive Director of the National Association of Energy Service Companies. Man, that's a mouthful. I'm so used to saying NASCO, but I figure we better let everybody know the full name, right?
It is. NAESCO works great, but you're right. It is the National Association of Energy Service Companies. Been here about 6.5 years now. It's great to be with you.
Yeah, man. And hey, so as an executive director, I know you got a staff, right? Because I mean, you guys do so much more than what people realize, and that's what I want to talk about today. So, but you do have like a full staff of what, 5 people, maybe more?
We have 3 full-time staff and 1 part-time staff. We're not
Okay.
a big organization, but we try to get a lot done with the little that we have. We have myself who runs the ship overall, and then we've got Natasha Shaw who runs our government advocacy efforts. We have Michelle Yoon who assists us with all of our membership and marketing and communication efforts. And then I've got a part-time staff that gives her some assistance at times as well.
Man, I tell you, because you guys, I mean, I've gone to a couple of your meetings and stuff, but you guys do a lot of stuff that I'm sure people don't realize. Because I mean, I've seen it on LinkedIn all the time. Because you and I are connected, and Michelle Yoon is connected to me, and Natasha. But you guys do a lot of training classes as well. Seminars as well.
We do. Our entire portfolio of events consists of seven live events per year. We start our year with usually a regional meeting, and we had one this year in Atlanta. We have one coming up here in a week in New York. We'll have one also in Denver and Chicago. Those are member only meetings where we discuss the state market conditions and try to learn what kind of advocacy we need to fix those markets if necessary. Our federal workshop, which I think you're familiar with,
Yeah.
is in March in Washington, D.C., talks about all things federal. And even though the turmoil going on in the government right now, we were able to hold a successful workshop,
I
had
was going
quite
to
a few
say that.
government speakers come as well.
You did a
We've
great job, man, with all the like you say, turmoil. That's a calm way of saying chaos.
Yeah, it went out pretty well though. We had a great turnout in our annual meeting last year. We had over 400, which is a record in Anaheim, California. Our one this year for our annual meeting is going to be in November in Las Vegas, and then we hold a lot of webinars. So typically 2 per month, sometimes 3 per month, where we have webinars. We hold one a month that highlights something one of our members, how their technology works, and then we'll hold something usually talking about the government officials that we work with. And then we'll hold something else usually each month. Last time we held one, just trying to understand the status of what's happening in the federal government. So we brought some people in that had some insight into the federal government, and they talked to us.
That's what I'm getting at. See, that's what, because a lot of us all know the two main meetings, right? The one with the government one that's in March, and then the one that you do in the fall. That you always go to a really, I say, neat kind of city. Because you've been to New Orleans in the fall, you've been to Hollywood,
Right.
California. This year you're going to Vegas, which I'm excited about because Vegas is always a fun time, nice place to go. It's more than just the casinos out there now with all the different sports and different things going on. So I was amazed when I saw that, Tim, that you guys are going to Vegas this fall.
Yeah, it's a great place to go. We haven't done Vegas in a while. Your challenge doing events in Vegas is you always wonder when you have to commit to a hotel that you're going to have a certain number of hotel rooms filled. um, you're always worried that you're not going to fill the events or there's going to be a problem because there's so much to do in Vegas. People don't necessarily have to go to your event. But we think that we have enough draw now that we felt comfortable with it, and we have one in Vegas. We're looking forward to it. We think it'll be great. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm signing up. I'll tell you that. And I'll broadcast the word to get everybody I know to show up because, like I said, there's a lot of people like our buddy Jim Holton out of Georgia Southern Company, right? That's never been to Vegas, so now he's got a good reason, to be able to come to Vegas because that's one of his bucket list cities that he wanted to go to. So you kind of helped him out of filling in his bucket list.
Never been to Vegas. Wow. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a fun place.
it is. And I see where you're at the Paris Hotel or
We
casino,
are.
and that's really cool because I know you've been there because I'm sure you scoped it out because you're like the rest of us, David Robile, myself. anywhere you're going to do an event, you're going to go there a couple times ahead of time, schedule before you book it to see what's there, what people can do, different things. But I love that out front. If I remember right, there's like a beer garden out front upstairs, about the second story up, I think.
Well, last year we held an event in that exact beer garden for our members at our member meeting. We had a regional meeting there in Las Vegas a year ago, and we held a happy hour in that beer garden, the one you're describing.
Wow, that's kind of cool. So, and I know that the energy service companies like Constellation, Honeywell, Johnson Controls, Southland all support you really well at the different events. So I know that they're looking probably forward to going to Vegas too, because they're going to get their brand out. They're going to be able to, their people are going to be able to go to the meeting, get education, and also have a nice time of going and seeing what's out there under the lights.
Yeah, well, we try to occupy as much time of our members as we can when we have our events. So we have events planned ourselves. We'll be at the Top Golf as our main networking event that night of the conference. That's always a popular event. I will tell you that the dates that we've chosen for our event in Las Vegas, it will be a busy place. I've heard stories that there is a conference called the SEMA conference, which is an automotive manufacturers aftermarket conference, I think is what it is,
Okay.
which I think has 160,000 attendees.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, it's a little bigger than ours. And then I think the Design Build Conference, National Conference, is also down the road at the MGM. So we'll have a lot of company there in Vegas. But I've been there when this event has happened before, and it's odd. It's such a big place where there's so many rooms that you just don't really feel crowded. So we should do great at the Paris Hotel. I've done presentations at this in this exact location, and it's gone very well. It's a great place to go. We'll have some great speakers. We haven't got all the lineup yet, but we have some things already in the works. And then we'll have some great networking time as well. So plan on coming.
I know that, and not only that, but you got that huge ball down there on the north end. I think it's the north end of the strip. The Sphere. That they always got something going on inside that place.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that. And then, like I said, you got the different webinars, seminars that are going on. I think you got one coming up in another week or so. I can't remember which one's coming up.
Monday, we have a webinar coming up as well about demand side reduction. So there's something coming up Monday.
That's what I thought. I thought I saw that.
Yeah.
And I love them because one, I remember Natasha when she worked for Siemens and everything, and then came to work for you guys, and the two of you men are like a two-headed team, just knocking it out of the park, doing stuff, helping energy service companies, not only the big, large ones, but also the small guys. Because what do you got? About 100 and some that are listed, maybe 200 on DOE's list.
Well, so there are ESCOs, there are energy service companies listed on DOE's list. Now, the list you're talking about at Department of Energy is I consider it a fairly low bar to get on that list.
Exactly,
So
exactly.
some of the
I agree
companies that
with
are
you.
on that list probably are not true ESCOs, energy service companies, but they may be ESCO-like. And because the
Right.
bar is fairly low, it's easy to get on that list. And I think there's 100 and some companies on there.
That's what I
The,
was
the
thinking.
list qualifications are set by Congress, and so the program can't really change those. I used to run that program. I tried to tighten the list up a little bit, but I found that because Congress set the rules, as an agency official, we could not change the rules.
See, I didn't
Um,
even know Congress did that. I didn't know Congress had any say in setting it up. I thought you did, meaning your
no,
division of
no.
FEMA.
No, the Congress set up the passed laws allow for the ESPC rules, and then when they wrote the law, they said that in order to do performance contracting for the federal government, you have to be on a Department of Energy approved list, and then they gave specifications of how to get on that list, some of the qualifications, and so we have to follow those. We're not able to really change Congress's words. If Congress had left it blank, we could then define how you get on the list, but Congress did not, and so we were using their definitions. But there's a subsequent list called the IDIQ, which is indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity list. As you know, that list is a much more exclusive group, and it's much more challenging to get on that list. There's 22, I believe, on that list to do work in the
Right.
federal government. But I guess outside the federal government, there's these lists. Many states have their own list as well. And so when you go into a state, some of the states have followed that same structure where they will go out and pre-select a group of ESCOs to work in their state. Sometimes those lists will pass down, and school districts will use them, state agencies will use them, community colleges, counties, perhaps cities. And sometimes they're exclusive. Sometimes the state just uses it for state projects. But those lists exist all across the country in various formats.
See, that's what, and as a former state official energy guy, back in the days back when I was there, and I can't remember Joe's last name that used to work underneath you that's in Florida, and our buddies that are South Carolina and that are around. We all kind of looked at what was out there from the different states, and then we learned, leaned on DOE at the time, Mark Ginsburg, of who was out there that could do that performance contracting back there in the late 80s and early 90s when we got started to do performance contracting. So performance contract has been around a long time.
It has. It has. So, it started in the early 1980s. The organization NAESCO is over 40 years old now. So we've been around for quite some time. I've been here the last 6.5, but it's been around for many years before that. Terry Singer, our former director, was instrumental on getting the market started and helping to get some of the laws established across the country. We had a lot of active members. Every state has some sort of a structure around performance contracting now and allows our ESCOs to work pretty uninterrupted across the states. Each state has their own independent implementation. So each state has
Yeah.
differences on how they work and how it works, just like the federal government has. And as you know, even within the federal government, each agency may have differences on how they implement as well.
Yeah,
And
we know that,
so
don't we?
that's right. The process varies across the way. And so, that really shows you the dexterity and ability of the ESCO industry to be able to operate under so many different paradigms and so many different structures. And yet we still see a market that's $7 to $10 billion a year. And we still see growth in our industry despite having such variety in the methodologies of delivery.
I understand it. And it's funny how you brought Terry's name up because I was racking my brain, and it's not because you're on the show, okay, and that we're good friends, but I was trying to remember. I couldn't remember anybody that was running Niasco before you.
Yeah, it
It
was
was
Terry
like,
Singer.
and I commend you for it because since you took over, because Terry was there, like you said, but since you got there, it's like you really got the brand out there in front of everybody. Not only your constituents, as I say, the ESCO companies, but the end users know where to go to find information and assistance. You're wearing two hats. You got to take care of the ESCOs, and then you're taking care of the end users.
Yeah, so you'll remember um, during Terry's reign, she had certain things that she accomplished in the organization. And I always tell people when you get a leadership change, it's going to be different and it's going to be opinionated over is it better, is it worse, but it will be different. And that difference will be reflected by some people as a positive and some people as a negative. I mean, we're experiencing that now in our presidential change. There's certainly been
Right.
some changes happen in the federal government in the past few weeks, more than probably any of us could have anticipated. Some will
Yeah.
interpret that as good, and some will interpret that as bad. But I think the real opportunists will see opportunity no matter what they interpret that as. They'll see a way to make success, find business, and make things happen. That's the same way with NASCO. Terry ran the organization a certain way, and she accomplished unbelievable things in the industry and made vast changes. I inherited the market she created, and I'm grateful for it. And I inherited a healthy trade association that she created. And I was grateful for that. I now have built it and taken a different direction. My priorities, I think marketing, communication, and simply establishing a firm presence that people know who you are and what you do is the most important thing I can do as a trade association. Certainly, we have to maintain our advocacy effort. And that's a part of that, getting people to know what you do because we constantly have threats to our industry. Natasha handles that so well. She has really picked up the ball. Our members have fluid communication with her, and she does an excellent job of following up when an issue arises, forming a pathway to find a solution. And then in many cases, we're winning the case and we're getting our solution in place and we're causing laws that might be negative to us to be stopped. We're changing officials' minds to show how this works. And so that communication spreads to her area as well. And it's helping us to grow and thrive in the industry. On the other side, we formed a strategic partnership with a group called Energy Services Media. Julie Chestnut runs that, and she does all of the marketing and communications for us under contract with us. But we've integrated her into the organization to where she's basically one of us. She is able to go out and use our LinkedIn profile. She has me speaking at engagements constantly.
Yeah,
She has
yes, for
me
sure.
she has me out in front of people, and she's doing publications and communications out. And so my goal is that everyone begins to understand that we are a part of the industry. It's a normal process to go through a performance contract. It's not some aberration of a design build. It's not some aberration of your traditional procurement process, but it's a standard way of doing business across the industry. And we're starting to see that happen, where it's a more fluid process, a more accepted process, and the industry continues to grow.
That's and you're right, and it's so nice to see. And that's why when I started to look at, of course I got two different email addresses. Of course, I got one now that's set up by going to the meeting earlier this year to my foundation email address. So I get all the stuff from Michelle popping up on all the different seminars besides being connected on LinkedIn. So I'm getting them through email and through LinkedIn, which, like you say, is communication, and communication is gold, right? That if you
Correct.
don't communicate to people, people don't know what you're doing, they don't know what's out there. And this way you're helping people like myself, people, the small service disabled vet owned companies, A companies, the large companies like your Johnson Controls, Constellation, Southland. So you guys got a wide band broth that you got to take care of getting everybody to understand what's out there, what can do, and what the 8As need is different from a service disabled vets, different from the large companies. So I commend you and Natasha doing a great job of getting the communication out there, education out there. And hey, I look forward to this growing every day, and whatever I can do to help you guys, I love it because I'm learning, even this old man,
Yeah.
even this old man can learn every now and then, Tim.
Well, when we talk to our members, what they tell us is most important is always advocacy. And that means that we're out in front of problems, we're trying to find solutions to problems and so forth. But the number two thing they tell us is networking. And that's a fascinating result because the reality is the ESCO industry is a heavy relationship industry. Remember, when you select an ESCO to do a project, you don't know the scope of work. You have no idea what it is the energy conservation measures that are going to be derived from an audit, but yet you have to select a partner before you know that. And so, how do you make that selection? Why would you choose company A over company B? Well, it comes down to reputation, relationship, qualifications. It's all soft things. We like to select things off of hard numbers. We want to know the lowest price, the best value. But we have to select an ESCO often based off reputation. And the federal government procurement laws allow that. Most state procurement laws allow that. Sometimes there's a little bit of price competition through a preliminary
Right.
assessment, but even that is still pretty soft because you just don't have the time to develop really firm numbers. And so, as a reputation based industry, it's not surprising that networking becomes one of their number one things. And the relationship extends to the client. So upwards to the client, that relationship remains the most important thing. And they have to maintain that for 20 years many times. So maintain a 20-year relationship so that anytime someone calls and says, "Hey, I want to use company A. Have you done work with them and was it any good?" The answer is always positive. But that relationship extends downward to the subcontractors. So more than half of our members by quantity are affiliates, and those affiliates provide goods and services to ESCOs. But the ESCO wants a relationship with their affiliates as well, and vice versa, back and forth. And the reason that's important is the affiliates are just as important at delivering the project as the ESCOs. And many times the affiliates have to be involved to maintain that relationship. You install a poor product from an affiliate or get a bad service from an affiliate, that reflects back on you in the contract. And so you want to know your partner is going to be a solid supplier, from equipment suppliers to the contractors that install to everything you do in a project, even down to the measurement verification. And so it makes the project a different project than a standard design build or a standard contractor bidded project, because that relationship is key and it's important, and it provides a full circle of accountability that often is not present in other types of projects.
Well, absolutely, and like you say, communication, because you got a service. So you just mentioned 20 years, that it can go 25 years. So you're out there a long time, and over that period of time, you're going to get new directors, you're going to get new energy managers, you're going to get new service staff, maintenance staff. So it's a living organism, because you always have to communicate and educate everybody coming in and do. It's just like you say, the new administration comes in, so now a bunch of old people are, old administration people are gone, new people come in, and they don't have a clue. They don't have a clue what
Agreed.
performance contracting is. They probably can't even spell it for some of
Agreed.
them, right?
And you talk about the duration. As we see the market shift, we're starting to see even longer term projects done with ESCOs. There's the energy savings performance contract, which has been kind of the stalwart contract for many years. But now we're seeing more energy as a service type contracts. They may have concession agreements. They may have other long term commitments where they need to have a relationship that goes even further and further into understanding how the site operates, but they have a longer term, maybe 40 or even 50 years. So you're talking now everyone on the project likely has passed their career and it's passed to an entirely new crew. Relationship becomes key at that point.
Absolutely. And that's and now that, but you got like accreditation people that have certain things like measurement and verification. There's certifications for that. There's the certified energy manager certification stuff.
Yep.
So there's a lot that all goes into these projects, more than just, like you say, design, build, or the old bid and spec route, right? That a lot of people are so used to, and we've kind of really moved away from that quite a bit in the
Well,
old
you think about
testing.
the industry and its advancements. Over time, the industry began, and it was a little bit of a wild west. People
Yeah,
kind
it
of did what
was.
they want, and there wasn't quite clarity of how things worked. There was a few experts that defined how things happened, and over time, we've seen a market move from wild west to a very structured, understood, delivery market, and that's important because you often want to know that you can get repeatable projects. We run an accreditation program that validates that energy service companies will do what they say they're going to do. We look at references, we look at their finances, we go look at their measurements that they've done on their projects, we look at their contract structure, we look at the savings that they're guaranteeing to make sure that this all fits what we think is a proper energy savings performance contract before we offer accreditation. And why that's important is those people looking to buy into a performance contract, they want to be able to know that the stories they hear from someone else about the project represent the project that they'll get. They're looking for repeatability. From an ESCO, they want to know that there's a structure to deliver a proper project to a client and that there's a way to validate these. And so you talked about certifications. The certifications are not just offered by me. I do an accreditation for the ESCO.
Right.
Beyond that,
Yep.
the employees of an ESCO can get accredited by many different pathways. Department of Energy has created an owner's representative accreditation, a certificate program where you can be trained over an 8-course process. That's about a 15-hour training regime. Take a test and get a certificate to say you now have become a certified owner's rep. The Association for Energy Engineers has a slew of certifications
Yeah.
about measurement verification, certified energy manager. A lot of those are ESCO-centric type of work. And then EVO, which runs the IPMVP, also has a very rigorous certification on measurement verification. And even more, Steve, is we're a part of a group called the Global ESCO Network. So the ESCO world is expanded and has grown worldwide. It's
Wow.
grown so much that the Global ESCO Network is not a member of ESCOs. ESCOs are not allowed to be members, but ESCO associations are members. So there's
Okay.
enough ESCO associations that you can have an association for ESCO associations. And
Wow.
that's called the Global ESCO Network. They have their second annual meeting. So it's a new group. Their second annual meeting is in Turkey, in Istanbul, in I think the second week of May. So
Wow.
if you go
Holy
out to the
cow.
web, I don't have their link right here that I can show you, but go to Global ESCO Network and you'll find that event out there. So if you have a reason that you want to go learn more about the ESCO industry, the Global ESCO Network is having their second annual event. We had the first one last year in Paris. We had Mary Sotos from FEMP come and speak at the event. We had a person from one of our member companies speak at the event. And so it turned out to be a great event. It was small because it was our first one. The second one should be larger. It's sponsored by the Turkey ESCO group. And
Wow.
here's
Holy
what's even
cow.
more fascinating is these countries that are coming to this are trying to build an ESCO industry in their country, much like we have in the US.
That's amazing, because you don't think of, but it's a way to communicate, right? It goes back to that communications that I've got this group, I got that group. We need somebody that can be the umbrella to help all the different ones that say talk about the same page, the same on the same page of music, however you want to say it. So that's kind of cool that there's a global organization that everybody can come and talk about, the situation. Hey, I got this problem, I got this came up, how do you guys handle it? Same kind of deal that you're doing for like the ESCO companies, only that this one is for the organizations. That's pretty cool that that exists. I didn't even know that was out there.
Yeah, so certainly go to my website and sign up for my emails to learn about some of the events we're doing. But you can also sign up for Global ESCO Network emails and learn what they're doing. I think it was Tuesday this week, they held a session on the ESCO industry in the Philippines. So there's a lot happening across the world in the ESCO industry. You have to remember though, when you go outside the United States, each region defines what an ESCO does differently. It's based on the environmental conditions and what the buildings are like in those locations. So in Europe, it's a much milder climate than the US. The US has a lot of heat and cold extremes.
Yes.
Europe is much less of those extremes, and so that means a different type of market there. You go to other places, and there's more of a market focused on multifamily housing because that's the predominant living arrangements. In the U.S., single family houses are very common, but in many countries, multifamily houses is more common. And so you may have an industry developed there. And so each country is a little different in how they approach it. Each country views debt differently than the United States, and they have a different structure for the market. But again, there's that opportunity. Change, differences often mean opportunity for those who are willing to figure out how to make it work and go after it. Just because it's different than ours doesn't mean it's bad, doesn't mean it's good. It's just different, and there's opportunity in that difference.
That is so cool, man. It's interesting. It's growing. It's like it's not just stagnant. Everybody thinks because what's going on in craziness here in DC with us, it's like put like a stoppage to things, and it really hasn't. It's just made people realize, hey, we got to take a look at this. Let's see what we can do because we're going to come out a way to make it either be better or some of the stuff's going to drop to the side, but it's still going to be here. It's like nothing really stops. It just kind of slows down a little bit.
Yeah, it's easy to criticize and to paint a doom and gloom picture, but I think we have to look forward to where we can try to make things work.
Hey, so a good friend of ours, Patty Ardovan and Brian Tooman, have their company called marketing company and doing some training called PBJ, and they are the ones that got certified by Evo to
That's
be the
correct.
rep in America to do all the Evo's measurement verification certification stuff. So, you
That's
know,
right.
and that's one nice thing I like about America is you can always find a niche, you can always grow, you can start your own business, and that's what they did, type deal, because they both were inside working the mecca of the Association of Energy Engineers. They broke out, now they're on their own kind of
That's
thing.
right.
So, hey,
No, you're exactly right. I've heard good things about their group. They do have the contract with Evo, and Evo is a very top-notch organization. Their measurement verifications information is very concise, very technical in nature, and very thorough. And PBJ is providing the training in the U.S. for that program. There's organizations all over the globe providing training, and Evo has really extended their work very much globally.
I know that when you get to our age, it's kind of like I want to take the courses, but I don't really want to sit and take the test. So I've told Patty and Brian, look, I'll sit in your classes, which I've done, but I don't need to pay the money to go take the test because I'm not going to ever get involved in that part. But I want to know what's going on. So take a lot of the courses just to keep the education going, your knowledge, because like you, myself, Jim Park, EW, a bunch of all us old time guys, it's a nice way to keep our knowledge up and know what's going on out there. And hey, Tim, I appreciate you coming on Stevie's Corner because this has been, well worth the knowledge and education. And I'll get John Stiles behind the set to put this all together
Great.
and then we'll upload it probably. And then I'll send you the link that you can promote it. It'll be up on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff. And then you can send it out to your members and let them know that, hey, I'm doing what I need to be doing. I'm getting the brand out there, so to speak. But I really appreciate your time because I know you're busy. Like that one arm paper hanger, right? Because there's like just the three of you running that organization, and you got a lot going on.
Yeah, yeah, and you mentioned an organization that I don't think I'm a member of yet. I wondered if maybe I should start paying dues. The Old Time Guys. I'm not a member of that yet, so
Oh,
you have to tell me what it's like to be in that association, because maybe someday I'll decide to join.
okay. Well, I'll send you a link to the old timers. Okay, some of them are retired, some of us are close, and others we're just gonna keep on working till the day that they
All right.
tell us that we're not talking anymore.
Well, my membership card is probably waiting in the mail, but it's not here yet.
Okay. Hey, no problem, Tim. Hey, like I said, I appreciate you coming on. You got a lot on your plate as the executive director of NASCO, and you come from the utility background. You gained the FIMP, got all that knowledge, and now you're running and helping both sides of the coin. So, hey, welcome. Thank you, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks for all you do, Steve. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Do you like a good cigar? Not me. I like a great cigar. And if you enjoy a great cigar, like these guys, then you want SGC cigars. Not only do you get a great smoke, but a portion of the proceeds from each cigar goes to help the children. And let's face it, it's all for the kids. And if it ain't fun, we ain't doing it. Enjoy.